Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jasura Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jasura Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jasura Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Shri Shri Radha Madhava ki, Shri Shri Radha Giridhari ki. Jayom Vishnu Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Jaja Shodhara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charanara Vinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jayom Vishnu Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Jaja Shodhara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Gauravani Pracharini Nirishni Shunyavadi Varshatyadi Shataharane. Okay. So this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto. First chapter, text 14. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskicham Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamadiyariyat Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We were always taught that the temple room, the floor, the walls are actually an expansion of Lord Balaram. So it's best not to lean up against the walls because you're leaning on Balaram. Were you ever taught that? So if you're leaning against the wall, you're leaning on Balaram. And I wouldn't do that. I mean, Krishna can do that, Krishna Balaram, but I wouldn't do that. So I would move away from the wall. Sit in a chair if you need support for your back, but I wouldn't lean against the wall. Plus, you can get the wall dirty. I do know that they must have been close to the wall because I was heard in Srila Bhakti Siddhanta's ashram, the devotees chanting japa, sometimes they get tired, so he would take their sika and hook it on a little nail. So when they fell asleep, they would pull on their head. I heard that. I don't know if that's true, but anyways, and it's actually an invitation to fall asleep. If you're tired and you lean up against the wall, it's called the adios asan. Because goodbye. You're not going to make it, right? So you lean up against the wall. Oh, I'll just sit here and listen to class. So anyways, that's just double checking because I was always taught that. So today's verse. Yat Bachi Tantyam Guna Karma Dhamabi Sudushtarai Vatsa Bayam Suyojitaha Sarve Vahama Balim Ishwaraya Prota Nasi Iva Dvipade Chatupadaha. Okay. Yadvachi Tantyam Gunakarma Dhamabi Sudushtarar Vatsa Vayam Suyojitaha Sarve Vahamo Balamishwaraya Prota Nashiva Dvipade Chatushpada. Excuse me. Yadvachitantyam gunakarma dhamabi Sudushtarar Vatsa Vayam Suyojitaha Sarve Vahamo Balamishwaraya Prota Nashiva Dvipade Chatushpada. Yadvachitantyam gunakarma dhamabi Sudushtaryar Vatsa Vayam Suyojitaha Sarve Vahamo Balamishwaraya Prota Nashiva Dvipade Chatushpada. Anyone like to chant? Savachitancham gunakarma dhamavi Studushtarar Vatsa Vayam Suyojita Sarve Vahamo Balamishwaraya Proto Nashiva Dvipade Chatushpada. Yadvachitanjam gunakarma dhamavi Sudushtaryar Vatsa Padam Yujita Sarve vahamo balamishwaraya. Vancham gunakarma dhamavi. Sudhishtavatsavayam dujojita. Sarve vahamo balamishwaraya. Protana shiva dvipaje chatushpada. Anyone else? No? Pass on this one. Okay. Synonyms. Yet, of whom? Vachi, in the form of Vedic instruction. Tandyam, to a long rope. Guna, of quality. Karma, and work. Dhammabihi, by the ropes. Sudushtarayai, very difficult to avoid. Vatsa, my dear boy. Vayam, we. Suyojitaha, are engaged. Sarve, all. Vahamaha, carry out. Balim, orders to please him. Ishwaraya, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Protaha, being bound. Nasi, in the nose. Iba, like. Dvipade, to the two-legged driver. Chatupadaha, the four-legged bulls. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. My dear boy, which is interesting, Vatsa also means calf. So it's a very affectionate term. Darling person. So Balaram, when you want to get the bhaktas to do something, you say, Vatsa Prabhu, Vatsa, please, darling boy, clean the ashram. Vatsa, Vatsa. Okay. Vatsa. Vatsa Chris, please. Like that. So that's a new thing you can start. Vatsa, Vatsa. Like that. My dear boy, all of us are bound by the Vedic injunctions to the divisions of Varnashram according to our qualities and work. These divisions are difficult to avoid because they are scientifically arranged. We must therefore carry out our duties of Varnashram Dharma like bulls obliged to move according to the direction of a driver pulling on ropes knotted to their noses. Please repeat, my dear boy. All of us are bound by the Vedic injunctions to the divisions of Varnashram according to our qualities and work. These divisions are difficult to avoid because they are scientifically arranged. We must therefore carry out our duties of Varnashram Dharma like bulls obliged to move according to the direction of a driver pulling on ropes knotted to their noses. Purport. In this verse, the words Tantyam Guna Karma Dhamabihi are very important. We each get a body according to our association with the gunas, the qualities or modes of material nature, and we act accordingly. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the four orders of the social system, namely Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, are arranged according to guna and karma, their qualities and work. There is some controversy about this. However, because some say that since one receives a body according to the guna and karma of his past life, it is one's birth that determines his social status. That's what they call the caste system, which exists in the East and the West. We can talk about that a little bit if you like. Others say, however, that one's birth according to the guna and karma of his past life is not the essential consideration, since one can change his guna and karma even in this life. So raise your hand if you favor number 2, the second one. Raise your hand. You're slow on that one. He's from India. He likes the caste system, I think. You born in a Brahmin family? Okay, we'll get back to that. Thus they say that the 4 divisions of the social order, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra, should be arranged according to the guna karma of this life. This version is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam by Narada Muni. While instructing Maharaj Yudhisthira about the symptoms of guna and karma, Narada Muni said that these symptoms must govern the division of society. Yeah. Otherwise, we'll hear from Tapas.
Proktam pungsova nabi vyanjakam yadanyatrapi drishyeta tatte naiva vinirdishet. Translation? If one shows the symptoms of being a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, as described above, even if he has appeared in a different class, he should be accepted according to those symptoms of classification.
In other words, if a person born in a family of a Brahmana has the symptoms of a Sudra, he should be designated as a Shudra. Similarly, if a Sudra has Brahminical qualities, he should be designated a Brahmana. The Varnashram system is scientific. Therefore, we accept the divisions of Varna and Ashram according to the Vedic instructions. Our lives will be successful. Unless human society is thus divided and arranged, it cannot be perfect. As stated in the Vishnu Purana 389, Vanashrama charyavata purushena parapuman Vishnu aradade panta nanya tadosha karanam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, is worshipped by the proper execution of prescribed duties in the system of Varna and Ashram. There is no other way to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One must be situated in the institution of the 4 Varnas and Ashrams. Unquote. All of human society is meant to worship Lord Vishnu at the present moment. However, human society does not know that this is the ultimate goal or perfection of life. Therefore, instead of worshiping Lord Vishnu, people have been educated to worship matter. According to the direction of modern society, men think they can advance in civilization by manipulating matter to build skyscrapers, big roads, automobiles, and so on. Such a civilization must certainly be called materialistic because its people do not know the goal of life. The goal of life is to reach Vishnu, but instead of reaching Vishnu, people are bewildered by the external manifestation of the material energy. Therefore, progress in material advancement is blind, and the leaders of such material advancement are also blind. They are leading their followers in the wrong way. It is best, therefore, to accept the injunctions of the Vedas, which are mentioned in this verse as yadvachi. In accordance with those instructions, everyone should find out whether he is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Sudra, and should thus be educated accordingly. Then his life will be successful. Otherwise, all of human society will be confused. If human society is divided scientifically according to Varna and Ashram, and if the Vedic directions are followed, one's life, regardless of his position, will be successful. It is not that Brahmanas will be elevated to the transcendental platform, but not the Sudras. If the Vedic injunctions are followed by all of them, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras will be elevated to the transcendental platform and their lives will be successful. The injunctions in the Vedas are explicit directions from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The example cited in this verse is that bulls are tied by ropes in their nostrils. That bulls tied by ropes in their nostrils move according to the direction of the driver. Similarly, if we move according to the instructions of the Vedas, the perfect paths of our lives will be set. Otherwise, if we do not move in that way but act according to our whimsical ideas, our lives will be spoiled by confusion and will end in despair. Actually, because people at the present moment are not following the instructions of the Vedas, they are all confused. We must therefore accept this instruction by Lord Brahma to Priyavrata as the factual scientific direction leading to the success of life. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter, 23rd verse, Ya shastram vidim utsri javartate kamakarata na sasidam avapnoti, na sukham na param gatim. If we do not live according to the injunctions of the Shastras, the Vedas, we shall never achieve success in this life, to say nothing of happiness or elevation to higher statuses of living. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unminitam Nena Taismai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Nena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Banchika Badrubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. By your kind words and thoughts, I'll try to say a few words. One thing, it wasn't Balaram playing the Madanga very nicely during Jai Radha Madhava? I was appreciating that. It was very nice. So, I think Bhakti Alex has some steady competition. Balaram. And that Damodar is becoming quite very good. So Prabhupada says in this verse the words Tantyam Guna Karma Dhamibi are very important. The whole understanding of Varna and Ashram, because it's something, Prabhupada says later on in the purport, you got to figure out who you are. Right? Well, what do I want to do with my life? Right? What do I do with my life? Who am I? I mean, that even not going that high. What is the goal of life? Where did I come from? Who am I? But even just what am I going to do with my life? It's a question that most people ask. Right? What am I going to do? Career choice, this, that. What do I like? What do you like doing? They have what they call guidance counselors. Do they still have those in school? When I was a kid, they had them, guidance counselors. Try to steer you in high school. I don't think they had them in middle school or before that. But high school, of course, college. Which way you want to go, your career, this, that. And they have all kinds of tests to take. Remember that classic book? Was it about the parachute? Open your parachute or something like that? Big, thick book. Unbelievable book on just all these questions and tests you can take to try to figure out, what kind of occupation you should have. And that's important because if you're not satisfied, this is talking on a very mundane level, but you have to be properly engaged to be happy, right? Just like they always give that example. Well, Prabhupada gives one example. Well, let's go with another example. Well, Prabhupada's example, he mentions many times, I forget, there was a very, very wealthy attorney, a lawyer, during the days of Gandhi. He was one of Gandhi's main followers. And he was making a ton of rupees. But there came a point where there was no cooperation with anyone in Gandhi's movement with the British government. And he was practicing law in British courts, and all the Indian lawyers walked out. So he got no money. And he probably said that the national, whatever it was, board or whatever, gave him something like 500 rupees a month, and he was used to like 500,000 a month. So within a year he died, Prabhupada said, because he just couldn't handle the austerity. On top of which, because he was a very charitable man, he gave all that away too. He was just a very charitable person, anyone in need or so on. So Prabhupada said because it was artificial, he couldn't be happy. And he died. He actually died within a year. But another example given is just like in the communist movement, they take everyone, they would take college professors and all kinds of people like this and make them plow the field. Not according to their guna and their karma, their psychophysical makeup and so on. So unless you understand what you should do with your life in these different areas, you won't be happy. And it's guna and karma, according to the modes of material nature. And these four orders of life aren't something that was created in India. It's created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it exists in all societies, human-like societies, and human society for sure. There's an intellectual class, you can call them Brahmana class, you have the administrative class, you have the mercantile class, and then you have the laborer class. Just like in our bodies, we have the head, we have the arms, we have the stomach and legs. Kind of need them all, right? In order for the body to function. So the social body needs these four classes. That's how the social body is made up. But to organize it scientifically, that's something you'll find there in Vedic culture. In our society, it's not organized at all, and that's why people, Prabhupada uses the word a few times in the purport, confused. Have you ever known anyone to be confused about life? If you don't, that means you are. So, yes, most people, it's actually symptomatic of the age of Kali. People are confused. And they have different statistics. That most people are unhappy with their work. Most people don't like their job. Did you ever work? Did you like your jobs? Generally, no. Anyone here raise their hand? They just were overjoyed with their work, every single job they had. You about raise your hand? I thought you were going to raise your hand, Balaram. Like that. So, no. Ice cream man. He was the good humor man. Jai. But most people don't like their job. I think it's every, 3 or 4 years, people change their jobs. It's rare to find someone who's been in the same occupation for a long time, at least amongst most people. Because most people are Sudras. You know what the word Sudra means? One of the meanings? Oh, is lamenting. They're just unhappy about life. They're just moving from this to that. They're unhappy. And even, millionaires, they have 18 different endeavors on average before they hit their stride. 18 different attempts at different things. So the point is, it shows people don't really know what they're supposed to be doing because there's no guidance. And in Vedic culture, advanced culture, when a child is young, the parents and the gurus start looking, what are their inclinations? Are they Brahminically inclined, or there's different orders of life, and they start steering them that way at a reasonable age, and start training them, Yeah, even that after the grain ceremony, they have this little ceremony that the child is able to crawl. So in front of the child, they put some coins, a Bhagavatam, maybe a sword, or this or that, or pen, or so on. And then see which way the child goes. And Mahabharata was telling me they just did that with Mahahari's son. He just jumped on the money. He jumped on the money. So we're thinking, actually nowadays they need to put like an iPad there. If they're going to go for IT, they're going to go, it's like, who goes for a sword anymore? It's like, So you got to put the appropriate things in today's life, and it probably should be bitcoins or something like that, right? Or at least credit cards. Who goes for coins? There'd be a pile of credit cards, an iPad, the different orders of life. So people have different propensities, and they should be encouraged in that way. So if you go off, sometimes you may have met people too. I've met professionals. They go to college. There's Indian families. They go to college for 4 years. They become a doctor, and they decide, I don't really want to be a doctor. And they go into IT or vice versa. And their parents are like, how much I just spent on your medical school? But they didn't really like it. It just wasn't them. And they were just maybe doing it to please their parents or something like that, some kind of external pressure. But it's very, very important that we understand who we are. This is a long purport, and there's a lot to be said. But, we can bring it back around, just like this verse that's quoted, the Vanashrama Charavata, the reference is the Majja Lila, and that's the conversation with Lord Chaitanya and Ramananda Roy. And Lord Chaitanya was asking about the goal of life, and Ramananda Roy first quoted this verse, and Lord Chaitanya said it's external. It's external, Vanashram. And then all leading up, all the conversation went up, his different answers, gradually to pure devotional service. That's what he led to. So, but the point is, in our devotional service, we have to find out where we fit in. Now, we probably don't know that right off the bat, right? We were discussing that one class I gave recently, and Rajendra Nandan brought that up. If you're not happy doing what you're doing, maybe not in the beginning, it's a good time to try to figure all that out, because you need to settle into Krishna consciousness and become purified and so on. And someone's got to wash the pots, and there's so many different considerations. But ultimately, the propensities are there. Now, one thing is Prabhupada wanted to train a society of Brahmins to lead society, because society is missing. If there is anything that society is missing, it's a head direction. That's the problem. It brings that over and over again. Of all the bodily parts, they're all important. All important. Prabhupada points that out too. That is not just Brahmins become elevated. All the orders of life are meant to be engaged in devotional service and go back home, back to Godhead. But in a body, the head is the most important part. Because if the head isn't working right, or if there is no head, then nothing works. You can actually go out, be without your legs and arms and so on, but you can't go without the head, like that. So there has to be a head, there has to be direction. So, Prabhupada wanted a society of Brahmins, and there's a verse, we've referred to Narada Muni speaking to Maharaj Yudhisthira. There's a whole section in the 7th canto. Narada Muni is talking in great detail. And also in the 11th canto, I think there's great detail about Varnashram. Krishna speaking to Uddhava, right? So there's great detail about the different orders of life, and and some of that stuff you could say is dated in the sense that, it's an agrarian culture and so many different things, but there are basic principles that are eternal and universal. But the point I want to say is there's a series of verses where Narada Muni is talking about the qualities of a civilized person. And it's not that just Brahmins are supposed to develop good qualities. Every single order of life is actually supposed to have all these qualities and be developing these qualities. Okay? So, for ourselves, Prabhupada would say, Vaishnava is better than Brahmin. Vaishnava, what does that mean? It means all the qualities of a Brahmin are automatically there, and then there's more. It's not just being a good Brahmin, or a good Vaishya, or a good Kshatriya or Sudra. It's being a Vaishnava, just like this verse here. Quoted, Vishnu aradhate panta. It's the path of worshipping Vishnu. It's not to be a Brahmin just to be a Brahmin. Not to be an administrator to be administrator. It's actually, do my activities please the Supreme Personality of Godhead? That's what it's all about. In fact, sometimes it's referred to as Daivi Vanashram. It's not just how to organize society so we're happy in this material world. That's a byproduct of good organization. Just like we have our society, association or temple here, right? Bunch of people. It's an organization. ISKCON of San Diego. It's an organization. And there's some organization here, and this gets done, that gets done. And, there's so many organizations around San Diego. So what's the difference is we're organizing everything to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Samsadim Haritoshanam. Our perfection is that the spiritual master is pleased, Krishna is pleased. That's the difference. That's why we're organizing everything. Now, when you have things running very nicely, what do they call it, oiled? Your machinery's oiled very nicely. When everything's running nicely, well-oiled, right? The schedules are good. Everyone's doing what they're supposed to do, and this, that, and the other thing. Oh, it's very attractive and pleasing, and everyone's very, very peaceful, right? So many examples could be given of bad organization and good organization. But when everything's going well, especially the prasadam, oh, nice prasadam, right? Temple's clean, nice kirtans, right? Nice engagement, preaching is going on. It's Vaikuntha. It's a spiritual world. And when it's not, there's anxiety. But it's not. It's for us. The organization is there. But why are we taking all the time to do this? It's haritosanam. Make sure that Krishna is pleased. And when Krishna is pleased, everyone's happy. So, oh boy, it's already 8:32. I guess I can end on that note because it's already 8:32. But what is Lord Brahma trying to make the point here? The thing with the rope and the nose. Those bulls got to go wherever he pulls, and they don't have to pull very much. Very, very sensitive, the nose of a cow. My nose is pretty sensitive too. Can you imagine having a rope in your nose? Okay, Prabhu, it's time to go to Mangalarti. Okay, Prabhu, it's time to cook. Whoa, Prabhu, okay, I'll go. Don't pull. So big bull. Anyone here get really close to bulls? You ever been really close to bulls? Yeah, you're okay. 'Cause I remember I lived on the farm in Mississippi. There's one devotee, what was his name? He took care of the animals. And one day, we lived in a trailer there. Of course, you live in a trailer in Mississippi. Everyone lives in a but anyway, all of a sudden he goes running by the front of us, heading towards this one field, carrying a box. And in that box was actually some like wheat berries or something like that. And right behind him is a bull, running as fast as he could. You ever seen a bull run like really fast with its horns? And he was throwing Haribo, and he's running down the field. What he was, the bull got out. And he was trying to get the bull back into a field with a gate. So he goes zipping by, and everyone's coming out. And this bull's making all this noise like a Aristosaur had arrived, And he just kind of makes it into the gate, throws the box, and the bull goes by and whoosh, closes the gate. I mean, you don't want to mess with these bulls, especially what. He goes out, yeah, that's how he got him. It was like bait. Like, come on, come on. And all of a sudden the bull smelled it and started running towards him. And he said it was his plan. So he just ran into the gate as fast as he could, and just made it. Like, it was like the horns were like this far from him. But anyways, bulls are very powerful. Bulls are very, very powerful. But a little turn on the rope and just go where you say to go. And that's the example given in the verse here, that really we are all controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 2 levels given here. The gunas, the modes of material nature. You ever get controlled by ignorance, passion, and goodness? No? Then you are transcendental. Because never by goodness. These modes of material nature, they're always in charge until we come to the transcendental platform. And then the other control means we should be controlled by the Vedic injunctions. If we want to be happy and successful in our life, you got to follow, just like the bull's got to follow the driver. The Dvipade, the 2-legged person, controls the Chatushpade, the 4-legged person, the bull. So these injunctions allow him to control the life. Prabhupada says then we won't be confused and bewildered and completely miss the real goal of life. So we can end here. Are there any questions or comments? Microphone? No microphone. This is off the record? This is off the record? Okay.
The question is, why can we lean on Balaram? Would you rather lean on Balaram than Maya?
Okay, that's a good question. Would you rather lean on Balaram than leaning on Maya? Well, the leaning on Balaram means taking service from Balaram. I'm tired, Balaram, can you hold me up? So devotee never wants to take service from the Lord. He always wants to render service to the Lord. Okay, that's why. That's the mentality. Never want to take service from the Lord. Always want to render service to the Lord. So I'm a little tired, Balaram. Could you kind of like hold me up? Devotee will never think like that. Now, if Balaram is tired, devotee will prepare a nice bed, massage his feet, and that's just like, where is it? It's right there, right behind your head. See? Krishna's tired, and his head is on Balaram, and the devotees are massaging his feet. That's the proper mood. I hope that answers your question. But I understand what you're saying. Lean on Balaram in the sense of offering service to Balaram. You're right. In that sense. Take shelter of Balaram, but don't take service from Balaram.
Could you also split in that, Mike? Hare Krishna. Could you still say that? If you're going to,
I think it's lost.
if you are going to lean on somebody, like ask for service on yourself, if you're going to pray for material boon, it seems that still one shouldn't pray to Krishna for material benediction. It's better to pray to Krishna for them than Maya for them. So that kind of reminds me of what he's saying. If I'm going to lean on somebody for my own sake, isn't it better to lean on Krishna than on Maya? Even though we don't, on an advanced level, devotee doesn't want to lean on Krishna, wants to offer everything to Krishna. But if I'm going to be materialistic, if I'm going to hold on to something, isn't it better I approach Krishna for them than Maya for them?
Yeah, I mean, just a matter of what words you want to use, because we discussed earlier about leaning against the wall. So leaning on, we have, that's why I meant the word take shelter, in that sense, lean. We have to take shelter. Yes, you got a choice. We all have choices. Take shelter of Krishna, take shelter of Maya. And yes, you're right. The better choice, The winning choice is to take shelter of Krishna and Balaram and Guru and so on, and not take shelter of Maya. Yes, in that sense. Is that clarification?
Yeah, I missed the wall aspect of that.
You weren't in class. Where were you? Where were? He was rendering service to Balaram because the plates are a manifestation of Balaram. Did you know that? The deity plates are an expansion of Balaram. All the Lord's paraphernalia is an expansion of Balaram. So you were rendering service to Balaram. That's why you missed this about leaning on Balaram. Okay.
My question was, in the purport Prabhupada talks about two different conceptions, at least, yeah, he mentions two conceptions of varnashram. And it seems that ours is not so different from the first, actually. It seems to me to be more close to the first than the second, even though he's saying we follow the second. But what I mean is, the first conception is that you can tell what your position varnashram is according to your body. Why? Because by the time you got the body for a reason. She gives it to you for a reason according to your guna and your karma. And so you can tell right away that, okay, you're in a female body, you're in a Brahminical body, you're in this kind of body. That's the body for a reason. You can take for granted that's what your work should be. That's what your position should be in varnashram. But then the second category is that, well, the body doesn't say much because your guna and karma can change. But it's in my experience, at least the conversations I hear regarding varnashram, I don't hear, right? It doesn't occur to me that my guna, my karma can change so easily. Generally, I still have some conception that, that by the grain ceremony, I have some clear idea as to what my position in varnashram will be. It's not that I go for the money at my grain ceremony, and then when I'm like 25, I'm like Brahminical, and maybe when I'm 50, I'm going to become like kind of my whole position varnashram. My guna, my karma is going to significantly change. It seems that we still have the conception at a very, very early age, practically around the time of conception, or the time of birth. My guna, my karma is it's there, it's clear, and so that can kind of guide me in the rest of my life. So whereas the first group is saying, well, your guna and karma is clear right before your body's conceived, so your body can tell. It seems that our position is that it can change, but we generally don't give a lot of scope for it changing after. I just don't really. When can it change? I mean, can I have like can I guna and karma be kshatriya my whole life, and then I could until I'm 50, and then 50 suddenly my guna and my karma completely change, and then now I'm Vaishya. It doesn't seem to me that's the case. That we can expect that to be the case.
How much time do you got? Well, one very important point is that it's not that we don't accept that first point, that according to our past karma and activities and associated with modes of nature, we get a particular body. Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita also. But the point I was making here is that the first people say, and then it stops. You take that birth, that's it. If you were born in a Brahmin family, that's it for life. Doesn't matter what you do, your janma is most important, and who cares what your guna and karma is during your life? They don't. That's it. You're a Brahmin, you're a Sudra, and then next life, if you're a good boy, if you're a good Vatsa, right? If you're a good boy, and you to be a good Sudra, next life maybe you'll be a Vaishya. If you're a good Vaishya, maybe next life you'll be, this way you work your way up. We don't accept that. In other words, it is possible, and it is hopeful that people will become better and better and better by good association and by following the Vedic regulations. It's not that we're out there to change all the Sudras into this or that, but people can change. We're banking on that, every single one of us here, right? In this movement, we're banking on the fact that we can actually rise out of the modes of ignorance by hearing Bhagavatam, by chanting Hare Krishna, not only rise from ignorance to passion to goodness, but Vishuddha Sattvam, pure goodness. And Vedic society means every single order of life is supposed to be engaged in devotional service so they can also feel that transformation. They may not change what they do day to day to work. So there's a lot to be said on this point, but that's what I said. It's give another class. That was a good point you're making.
Only born in Sudra family. Now we do it.
Sudra is saying pretty high. Actually, we were Malecha Yavana.
Yeah. But now we're practicing Krishna consciousness, studying the Vedas, and just doing, so many, look at Dravida, Prabhu is so brahminical, and Jayadvaita Swami, so many, born in Sudra families, Malecha, but look at the qualities, they're not like that at all. The brahminical qualities came out.
Yeah, and another point you made about all of a sudden when I'm 50 years old, something crazy could happen. Well, one thing is, because the modes of material nature are always in competition. One should be very, very careful. And you mentioned our society. Some people go along very, very nicely. Then when they're 50, who knows, all of a sudden someone has a midlife crisis or this or that, and you say, what happened to him or her, right? So it is, and not just in our society, but people sometimes in their life, they do this huge shift, sometimes very, very good and sometimes bad. Because it's the modes. You associate guna karma, what is that? Prakriti kriyamana, gunai karmani vibhaga saha. We keep associating the modes of material nature, kartamiti manyate, we think we're the doer and so on, but we're being pushed around by the modes. So we're actually pretty helpless unless we have good association and so on. So yeah, you could really, really change. Things could really get upside down and inside out. It's possible, it happens to people, and that's just this huge shift in the modes of material nature. Sometimes it's coming from bad association or good association. Sometimes it's your past karma kicks in. It just kicks in, and you got to watch out. You go through a planetary period or this or that, and it's like, where did that come from? We don't know what's coming from the past. So, safest place to be, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Harinam Sankirtan. Now we just touched on your question, but we should end here because of the time. Okay, and Tapas, I'll send you the name of the class and a description. I promise. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. What should be the name of this class?